Hey, greetings. Welcome to the Brain Gauge channel. We're just going to do a quick reference guide to the Brain Gauge scores right now. And when you pull up your data analysis app, you might see something like this. You've selected a user, and what you see is you see their timeline over the course of, in this case, a month, and you see the different time points that were collected. And this is made up of the overall composite score. That's what you see right down here. Now, these overall composite scores are generated from these other scores. So I'm just going to go through real quick what these other scores are. First one is speed. You get that from collecting reaction time. And reaction time is an excellent measure for a lot of different things, from neurodegenerative disorders to neurodevelopmental disorders to TBI. It get all those things that I just mentioned make things worse, makes reaction time worse and speed worse. Well, there are things that make speed better, things like caffeine and regular exercise, starting a regular exercise program, and just general health and well-being will make you better. Let's go into accuracy. Accuracy comes from that test that you take where we ask which one is bigger, and that's the amplitude discrimination task. That test basically is targeting how well you can focus on 2 points in the brain. How well can the brain contrast enhance an image? Another way to think about this is think about a car with, and coming with its headlights on, and you're standing down the road and there's a heavy fog, and you can sort of see it. You can sort of see those lights, but they're really foggy, and you can't even tell if it's one light or two. But then the fog lifts and it becomes crystal clear. And that's sort of analogous to what happens with brain fog. With brain fog, you can't tell the difference between those 2 points. And there's a lot of things that cause brain fog or cause those conditions. Things again like concussion, autism, make your accuracy a little bit worse. The next score is TOJ, and that comes from a test called temporal order judgment. Temporal order judgment is basically it's a test where we're looking at frontal, parietal, temporal lobe pathway, and so people that have really a hard time telling which order which came first are going to have trouble with this test. Schizophrenics do very poorly at this test. If you do poorly, it doesn't mean you have schizophrenia. You just basically I'm just giving you an example. Dyslexia is also another case where people don't do well on that test, but it's scaled. Timing perception, that's a question. It's also timing related, but it happens in a different part of the brain. It happens more in the posterior part, like in the cerebellum. Cerebellar parietal pathways handle timing perception. So, if you have motor control problems and you're not integrating sensory motor input very well, then timing perception is usually not very good. Think Parkinson's. Parkinson's is one good example of that. Plasticity. Plasticity is a computed score, and this is your brain's ability to adapt to its environment. And this is a really sensitive score to a whole lot of conditions. But one of the conditions that it really is kind of interesting is that looking at acute versus chronic conditions. If you have an acute, for example, acute pain, if you just hurt something, then some of these scores will be bad. Plasticity isn't that impacted. But if you have chronic pain, plasticity usually is impacted. Fatigue, that's just comparing how well you do from the beginning of that test battery to the end of the test battery. And it's just a computed score based on the whole battery. So make sure if you're taking the test or having someone take the test, they take the whole battery of tests. Focus, that is from the reaction time test again, except this reaction time variability. And this is generally, reaction time variability is sort of in the 5 to 15 millisecond range. And just a note, and that the brain gauge is the only commercially available device, or one of the only, or if not the only commercially available device that can actually get you a decent focus score. So as you may think, you may imagine, focus score is really bad for people who have trouble focusing. So if you can't pay attention, if you have attentional deficit disorder, then you do poorly on this. And actually, we see a lot of data, or a lot of clinicians working with ADHD people on and off their medications. That's really interesting. They do much better on the score with their meds than they do without. Obviously, any kind of distraction, any kind of multitasking will make you worse at the score. And again, the overall score, that basically is a composite of all these other scores. So that's basically it. If you have questions about any of them, there's a full talk on each of those. Thanks for watching.